I'm 82 years old, and I need to tell you about the biggest mistake of my life. In 1964, when I was 22 years old, a magazine called and offered me a job as a photographer. I'd just won the Kodak Young Photographer Competition, first place national. They wanted me. The job paid 40% less than the accounting position I'd already accepted at Morrison & Associates. My mother cried when I told her about the offer. My father said, "Thomas, photography doesn't pay the bills. Be smart." So I was smart. I turned them down. I spent the next 43 years behind a desk adding numbers while my camera collected dust in the closet. And 4 years ago, when my wife Linda died and I was cleaning out our house, I found a box in the attic that destroyed me. Inside were 40 years of photography magazines she'd bought for me, never opened, and at the bottom, a note in her handwriting from 1985. "When are you going to take that photography trip you always talk about?" I never took it. And now my hands shake too much to hold a camera steady. I'm going to tell you what fear cost me. I'm going to tell you why playing it safe is the riskiest thing you can possibly do. Because if you're sitting there right now with a dream you keep putting off, with an "I'll do it someday," you need to understand something. Someday doesn't come. It never comes. And by the time you figure that out, it's too late. My name is Thomas Chen. I worked as an accountant for 43 years at the same company in Philadelphia, Morrison & Associates. I started in 1964 when I was 22. I retired in 2007 when I was 65. Same desk, same fluorescent lights, same beige walls. I was good at my job, reliable, careful, safe, everything my parents wanted me to be, everything I thought I was supposed to be. But before all that, I was a photographer. From the time I was 19 years old, I walked around with a camera everywhere I went. My father thought it was a waste of time. "Get a real hobby," he'd say. But I couldn't stop. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. to catch the light on the Schuylkill River. I'd stay up until midnight developing film in our basement. I saw the world differently through that lens. I felt alive in a way I never felt doing anything else. In 1962, I entered the Kodak Young Photographer Competition, national competition, hundreds of entries. I won first place. The photo was of my grandmother's hands shelling peas in her kitchen, the morning light coming through the window. When they called to tell me I'd won, I couldn't believe it. 3 months later, a magazine, American Landscapes, called. They'd seen my winning photo. They wanted to hire me as a staff photographer. Starting salary, $8,500 a year. I already had a job offer from Morrison & Associates. Entry-level accountant, $14,000 a year. Safe, predictable, respected. My parents were proud. My father had introduced me to Mr. Morrison at church. "This is my son Thomas. He's going to be an accountant." Said it like I'd already won something. When the magazine called, I was alone in my apartment. I remember my heart racing. I remember thinking, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do. Then I thought about the salary, $8,500. I thought about my parents. I thought about the mortgage they'd co-signed for my apartment. I thought about being responsible, being smart, not being foolish. I called my mother. She cried, not happy tears, scared tears. "Thomas, you can't live on that. Photography is a hobby. You need security." I called my father. He said, "Don't be stupid. You're not 16 anymore. You're a man. Men provide. Take the accounting job." So I did. I called American Landscapes back and I said, "Thank you, but I have to decline." The editor said, "Are you sure? We don't make offers like this often." I said I was sure. I hung up the phone and I felt sick. But I told myself I was being responsible, being mature, doing the right thing. I met Linda 2 years later in 1965. She was a teacher, kind, patient, beautiful. We got married in 1967. 2 weeks before the wedding, we were having dinner, and she asked me about photography. "You never talk about it anymore. Don't you miss it?" I told her I was focused on my career now. She said, "You can still do it on weekends. After we're married, you'll have more time." I believed her. I thought I would. But I never did. I was always tired, always behind on work I'd brought home, always preparing for the next audit, the next busy season. The camera stayed in the closet. Linda would ask sometimes, "Want to go shoot some photos this weekend?" I'd say, "Next weekend. I'm swamped right now." Next weekend became next month. Next month became next year. Next year became never. Let me tell you what I learned, and it took me 60 years and a dead wife to figure it out, so maybe I can save you from the same hell. First thing, fear disguised as responsibility is still fear. I told myself for 43 years that I was being responsible, providing for my family, being a man, being smart. That's what I told myself. But that's not what it was. It was fear. Fear of failing, fear of disappointing my parents, fear of not having enough money, fear of being judged, fear of being wrong. I dressed it up in language that sounded noble, but underneath all those words was a terrified 22-year-old boy who was afraid to try. The accounting job wasn't my dream. It was my father's dream for me, my mother's fear of poverty, my own cowardice wrapped in a tie and called career. And I knew it. Deep down, every single day for 43 years, I knew it. Every morning when I put on that suit, every evening when I came home exhausted from work I didn't care about. I knew I'd made the wrong choice. But I'd already made it, so I told myself it was too late to change. That's what fear does. It makes one bad decision and then spends the rest of your life defending it. I had a colleague at Morrison, James Patterson. We started the same year, 1964. James was an accountant for 11 years. In 1975, when he was 35 years old, he quit. Just walked in one day and quit. Said he was opening a surf shop at the beach. Everyone thought he was insane. You're throwing away your career. You have a wife and kids. What about your pension? James said. I'll figure it out. He left. 2 years later, we heard his shop failed, went bankrupt. Everyone at Morrison said, "See, that's what happens when you're not responsible." But James didn't come back. He opened a second shop, smaller, different location. That one worked. By 1985, he had 3 locations. I saw him once at a company picnic in 1990. He looked different, tanned, relaxed, happy. He asked what I was up to. I said, "Same thing. You know how it is." He said, "Actually, I don't. Not anymore." There was no judgment in his voice, just truth. James is 82 now, same as me. I saw him last year at a reunion. He still surfs. 3 times a week. His grandkids work in his business. He walks with confidence. He talks about his life like it was an adventure. I listened to him, and I felt something I've felt for 45 years. Envy. Not envy of his money, envy of his life. James had 45 years of actually living. I had 45 years of existing, of being safe, of playing it smart. And you know what safety got me? Nothing. It got me nothing except a pile of regrets so heavy I can barely breathe under the weight of them. Second thing, security is an illusion. You can play it safe and still lose everything. I thought the accounting job was safe, secure, predictable. I thought if I did everything right, worked hard, showed up every day, I'd be protected. Protected from what? I don't even know. Failure? Judgment? Risk? Here's what actually happened. I worked at Morrison & Associates for 43 years. In 2007, I retired with a pension of $30,200 a month. Not bad, right? Security achieved. Except in 2009, the company restructured. My pension got cut by 40%. The security I'd sacrificed 43 years for, it evaporated in a board meeting I wasn't even invited to. Linda got sick in 2018. Stage 4 ovarian cancer. The treatments cost more than my pension covered. I had savings, but not enough. We sold our house, moved to a smaller place. The security I'd worked my whole life for couldn't even save my wife. She died in 2020. 53 years of marriage. She was 76 years old. And all that security, all that responsibility, all those smart, safe choices, they didn't protect me from anything. Not from financial struggle, not from loss, not from dying alone with a house full of regrets. Meanwhile, James Patterson's surf shop survived 2009. Thrived, actually. People still needed to escape, to have fun. His business was built on something real. Joy, adventure, life. Mine was built on fear and spreadsheets. Third thing, and this is the one that kills me every single day. Regret from trying and failing lasts weeks. Regret from never trying lasts decades. If I'd taken that photography job in 1964 and failed, what's the worst that would have happened? I would have struggled for a while, maybe gone back to accounting after a year or two, maybe felt embarrassed. It would have hurt. But the pain would have ended. Instead, I have 60 years of what if. 60 years of wondering what my life could have been. 60 years of seeing beautiful light and thinking, I could have photographed that professionally. 60 years of looking at National Geographic and thinking, that could have been me. The pain of failure is acute. It's sharp and terrible, and then it fades. The pain of not trying is chronic. It's there every morning when you wake up, every night when you can't sleep, every time you see someone living the life you were too afraid to pursue. It never stops. It never fades. It gets worse as you get older because you run out of time to fix it. In 1987, I was 45 years old. Linda found a workshop, nature photography, in Patagonia. 3 weeks, world-renowned instructors. She showed me the brochure at dinner. She said, Tom, use your vacation time. Go. I'll handle everything here. The kids are old enough. I had the money saved. I had 3 weeks of vacation I'd never used. I sat there holding that brochure, and all I could think was, what if I miss out on the promotion? There was talk at work about promoting me to senior accountant. More money, more responsibility. I looked at Linda. I said, what if this affects the promotion? She looked at me with something I'd never seen before. Deep, profound disappointment. She said, right, of course. She took the brochure back. She never brought it up again, never suggested another photography trip, never asked about my camera. Something died that night, not our marriage, but hope, her hope that I would ever be brave. The promotion came 8 months later. They bumped my salary from $42,000 to $45,000, $3,000 a year, $250 a month. I traded Patagonia for $250 a month. I traded 3 weeks of the thing I loved most for a 7% raise at a job I tolerated. And Linda watched me make that choice. She watched me choose fear over life. Again, like I'd done 1,000 times before. And she never looked at me the same way after that. Fourth thing. The people who love you want to see you alive, not just surviving. I thought I was doing the right thing for Linda. Providing, being stable, being responsible. But you know what Linda wanted? She wanted a husband who was passionate about something, who was excited, who took risks, who lived. Instead, she got a man who came home exhausted from a job he hated, who fell asleep in front of the TV, who had nothing interesting to say because he did the same thing every single day for 43 years. When Linda died and I found that box in the attic, I understood what she'd been doing. For 40 years, she bought me photography magazines every month. She never gave them to me because I think she knew I wouldn't open them. It would hurt too much. But she kept buying them. She kept hoping. That note from 1985, when are you going to take that photography trip you always talk about? She was waiting, hoping I'd wake up, choose life, choose passion, choose myself. I never did. The cruelest part, I never showed her my old photos. The ones from when I was young, when I was good. They were in a box in the basement, prints from before Linda, from when I was 19, 20, 21. My best work. I never showed her because looking at them hurt too much. They reminded me of who I could have been. So she died never knowing I had real talent. She died thinking I'd just had a little hobby I'd outgrown. She never knew what I'd sacrificed, what I'd thrown away, because I was too much of a coward to even look at my own photographs. Fifth thing, there is no later. Later you're old, later you're sick, later you're dead. For 60 years I said, I'll do it later, When I have more time, when I have more money, when the kids are grown, when I retire, when never came. I retired at 65. I had time, I had my pension, I had savings, but I was exhausted. 43 years of doing work I hated had hollowed me out. I had no energy, no fire. I bought a new camera with my retirement money, top of the line, $4,000. I took it out twice. It felt foreign in my hands. I'd waited so long that the thing I loved had become a stranger. Then the arthritis started. My hands, my fingers. By 70, I had tremors. Essential tremor, the doctor called it. My hands shake. Not all the time, but enough. Enough that I can't hold a camera steady anymore, can't frame a shot, can't trust my own hands. The universe's final joke. I waited too long, and my body made the decision for me. I'm 82 years old now. I live alone in a small apartment in Philadelphia. I have savings, I have security, I have everything I was supposed to want. And I would trade it all, every penny, every safe choice, for 1 year as a young photographer with steady hands and a living wife who still had hope. When I found Linda's note, when I sat on that attic floor surrounded by 40 years of magazines she'd bought for me, I cried for 2 hours. Not quiet crying, sobbing, the kind of crying that comes from the bottom of your soul, from the place where you keep the truths you can't look at. I cried because I finally understood what I'd done. I'd had everything, talent, opportunity, a wife who believed in me, time, youth, and I'd thrown it all away because I was afraid, because I listened to fear dressed up as wisdom, because I wanted to be safe. But here's what I need you to understand. I wasn't safe. I lost everything anyway. My wife is dead. My body is failing. My career is over, and it meant nothing. The company I gave 43 years to doesn't remember my name. I see young accountants at Morrison now. They have no idea who I am. All that security, all that safety, it amounted to nothing, less than nothing. Because I don't even have memories. I don't have stories. I don't have a single moment from those 43 years that makes me feel alive when I think about it. James Patterson has stories, adventures, times he almost went bankrupt and figured it out, waves he caught, customers he helped, his grandkids working beside him, a business he built with his own hands. He lived, I existed, and we both ended up 82 years old. But he's happy and I'm full of poison. You have something you're putting off. I know you do. Everyone does. A dream, a passion, a thing you think about late at night, a thing you say you'll do someday. Maybe it's art, maybe it's music, maybe it's starting a business or moving to a new city or learning something new or changing careers. Maybe it's something that seems irresponsible, risky, scary, and you have very good reasons for waiting. Very good, very reasonable, very responsible reasons. Let me tell you something. Those reasons are lies. Every single one of them. I need more money. I need more time. I need to wait until... Those are fear talking. Those are excuses. Those are the same lies I told myself for 60 years while my life slipped away. I'm 82 years old. My hands shake. My wife is dead. My someday never came. And yours won't either. Someday is not a real place. It's where dreams go to die. It's where passion gets buried under responsibility and fear and practicality until you wake up one day at 82 and realize you never actually lived. So here's what I need you to do. Right now. Today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you have more money or more time or more courage. Today. That thing you're putting off, that dream you're afraid of? Do one thing toward it, one concrete action. Call someone, sign up for something, buy the equipment. Book the trip, take the class. Submit the application. Do something, anything, that moves you 1 inch closer to the life you actually want, instead of the life fear has built for you. And if you're afraid, good. Be afraid and do it anyway, because I have lived both sides of this. I know what happens when you choose safety. You lose everything anyway, but you lose it without ever having lived. You lose it without stories, without passion, without the memory of having tried. And that loss is so much worse than any failure could ever be. I would give anything, everything I have for one more chance. One more opportunity to be 22 years old with steady hands and a camera and a job offer from a magazine. I would take it in a heartbeat, no hesitation, not 1 second of doubt. But I don't get that chance. That time is gone. My wife is gone. My hands are gone. My life is gone, but yours isn't, not yet. You still have time. You still have hands that work, a body that moves, days ahead of you. Stop wasting them. Stop choosing safety over life. Stop letting fear make your decisions. Because I promise you, I swear to you, on the grave of my wife, who waited 40 years for me to be brave, the thing you're afraid of losing by taking the risk is nothing compared to what you lose by playing it safe. I'm Thomas Chin. I'm 82 years old. I wasted my entire life being careful. Don't be me.